Dear students, welcome to the e-learning. This initiative is taken by Cambridge International School, Dessua. I am Navdeep, working as PGT Informatics Practices here. So students, today we will start a new topic. The topic is Descriptive Statistics. So statistics, you all are familiar with that how to apply mean, median, mode. You have applied and learned these things in mathematics also. So students, before we launch into the descriptive statistics, we need to first go undergo what are the topics we have covered. We have covered iteration here, how to iterate through the rows of the data frame, indexing using labels, how to apply the conditions on the labels, then joining, merging and concatenating the data frames, and we used also the Boolean indexing, how based on the true and false values of the index we apply the masking operations on the data frame. So Boolean indexing, just revise going through what we have done in the last lecture. So we select a subset of data based on the actual values of the data in the data frame and not on their rows and column labels. So earlier we were picking the values based on their rows and columns labels, clear? But now here we are picking up the values based on the Boolean indexing. So we use a Boolean vector to filter the data. So that what we have done here. Clear? So we have basically applied here students four methods. First was accessing a data frame with a Boolean index, applying a Boolean mask to a data frame, masking the data based on the column value, and the last one is based on the index value. So these are the four basic operations that we covered under Boolean indexing. So moving forward, students, today's the main topic is descriptive statistics. So what is this one is basically? So here a large number of methods collectively compute descriptive statistics and other related operations on a data frame. Most of these aggregations, what is the aggregation is basically aggregation is when we combine together, like sum. In sum we are calculating the sum of, let's say, 10 values. Mean, we are calculating the mean of 100 values, and similarly count. All these functions are also known as the aggregate functions. So most of these are the aggregations like sum, mean, count, standard deviation. Generally speaking, these methods take axis as an argument. So in a two-dimensional arrays or in a two-dimensional data frame, we have one dimension for rows, another dimension for column. So just like ND array, ND is n-dimensional array, that we apply the operations on the objects sum and standard deviation, but the axis can be specified by a name or integer. So we can specify the axis also either by its name or by its integer value like 0 and 1. So for 0 and 1, well, we need to know that the default value is taken as 0, clear? So this is default value, and if we assign one value, that we have to mention explicitly. So here students, the 0 represents basically the column wise operation. By default the axis value is 0, and if I mention the axis value as 1, so it means now the operation will be that is the row wise, clear? So by default we apply the operation column wise, and if I mention the axis value 1, so it means I am going to apply the operation row wise. So now our what is how we are going to do this one. Let us create a data frame. So first we will create a data frame and use this object for all the operations. So we'll be using the same example for all the different operations. So now moving to the Jupyter notebook. So students, coming to the Jupyter notebook, so this is the example that we will use for evaluating our different operations on a data frame. So first, what is step number one is I have imported pandas and numpy. So these two libraries will be using. Then what I have did in the next step, I have created a dictionary of series. So for name, so I have for name attribute I have used a series, so these names are entered here. Then the second attribute is age, and age is again entered using series. So here you also understand that how to make use of series also in our programs. And third one is rating. So rating is inputted using a another series. So for this, series is a data structure of pandas library. So here we have created a the dictionary, and we have named it as D. And then now the next step is create a data frame, and then is this D is converted into data frame using the pandas library function data frame, and with the print function we have just displayed the data frame. So here you can see uh, what our data frame now contains. So we have converted these three series part of a dictionary to a data frame. What is a data frame is? Data frame is a two-dimensional object having rows and columns. So here we are having the record of 12 persons, clear, starting from Tom, James, Ricky, and so on. Then their corresponding age and their corresponding rating. So this is the first step, that the basis one what we have in the program. So now we will apply the different operations on this example. Now starting with the very first function, students, let's say we want to find the sum of all the values that we have used in the data frame. So just use this sum function with the print, and you just run this one. So you see here now the age, all the age values have been summed up here. The sum is 382, and similarly the reading part is done here. But the interesting thing you see here, how we can basically apply the sum of the names. So names are not basically summed up, they basically get concatenated. So all the names will be combined together, or the exact word is concatenated. So this is how we get the sum operation applied on our the data frame. So students, here you can see that my default operation is becoming by column wise. The sum of all these values is this one, the sum of all these column values is this one. So let's say I want to apply have a sum on the row wise. So here I will use the axis value. So let's say I told you the default value is 0. So if I enter here 1, so you know my operation will now be applied the row wise. So you can see in the things, just run this one. So you see in the output part, you see how the output you are seeing up like this: 25 plus 4.23, this becomes 29.23. so similarly next is 26 plus 3.24, so this becomes 29.24. so how this is happening? Because now axis I have changed. So here now the operation, the sum operation is not column wise but row wise. This is how the values in the data frame are now calculated. So the operation becomes row wise. So this is the significance of the axis. The default value is 0. So if you don't mention, my default value will work like this. Clear? So if I mention here 1, so my default value will replaced with this 1 value. So 1 value means the operation will now be row wise. Default the operation is executed column wise. You can see this one. So this is the difference between the thing that we have understood in the initial part, the value of axis. Clear? So here you can see my index value. If my default axis value is 0, so if I replace it with 1, so how the operation, by default the operation is column wise. So if I mention the axis value 1, so the operation becomes row wise. So coming back to the Python platform, so let's say now students, I want to calculate the uh, mean. How we calculate the mean here? So let's say now I change this function here just, and use here the mean function. Clear? So I want to calculate the mean of these values, mean of age and mean of ratings, and the mean of name doesn't signify anything. So you see here, so what it had performed operation is the average age. So this is the average age of these people. and similarly their average rating is this. So this is how the mean operation. Mean is the, we say the mean, we also say it as average. Clear? So these are the different names, but the function name is mean only. So how the mean is applied on these the given values. Clear? So first it has calculated the mean of on age attribute. So the average age of these people is 31.83, and similarly their rating is 3.74. So like this. So this is how we apply the mean operation. Clear? The next we move to the, so students, next, in the next step we are going to calculate the standard deviation. Clear? So before going into the details of standard deviation, I just want to highlight what is the standard deviation is. So students, just have a look at the definition of standard deviation. So a quantity expressing, what the standard deviation gives us, a quantity expressing by how much the members of the group differ from the mean value of the group. So let's say the mean value here is, we have calculated the mean age is this 31.8. Clear? And similarly the mean rating is 3.74. Clear? So when we are going to apply the standard deviation, clear? So now my operation is this time standard deviation. So what we basically standard deviation gives, you see in the output part. Clear? So now the standard deviation for age, so means all these values, clear, are deviating by this much from their average value. So this is, I have applied now. We have to just use this operation standard deviation, but at least from the our subject point of view, we should need to have a clarity that what the standard deviation means. So standard deviation is the quantity expressing by how much the members of a group differ from the mean value. So how much these values are basically are differing from the mean value, this is given by the standard deviation. Similarly for the first is for the age parameter, second is for the rating parameter. So students, we have many more function in descriptive statistics. So like, let's say now I apply yet another function is, let's say my function is now count. So what the count does, see here, you just run this one. So you see here how many values are there under the name attribute, how many values are there with the age, so how many values are with there the rating one. So what it does basically, so you can say that count function, what it does, it basically counts the number of values which are there in each series. Clear? So we have applied this operation on a data frame. Next is, we can also find out, like, just we have a similar function to this one is, another function is in descriptive statistics is minimum. So minimum, you all are familiar to find out the minimum value. So you now just run this one. So when you run this one, the minimum value in the age is 23. Similarly the minimum value in the rating is 2.56. This is the 2.56. And students, in names, so it is very strange, but how we calculate the minimum value in name. So in name, you see that the name Andres is basically starting with A, that's why the minimum value is this one. So if you replace it with the maximum, clear, so you execute this one. So you find in case of a now name, the maximum value is now win. So because V's ASCII value is maximum, so that's why V comes in that alphabets at last. How many, whatever the alphabets we are available here. So you see the T is, it just comes first, V comes later. So that's why the maximum value becomes this. Similarly for age, you can see the maximum value here is 51. Similarly for rating, the maximum value. Clear? So with this max function, we can calculate the maximum value. So this is another important function in the descriptive statistics. So few more functions in stats, we have median. that gives you the mid value. So students, is very using function is not as important as we need to understand the meaning also. What the value is given, we need to understand that also. So you just run this one. So you now get the median age, that is the mid value, and rating. So it's very important to understand what is the difference between mean, median, and mode. Similarly, we can go with the mode function. Clear? What is the problem we have encountered here? So you see here that the positional argument, we have not given the right value here, so mode is spelled wrongly here. So you just again run this one. Clear? So now you get the clear for age, so you get the mode value, and similarly this is how the mode function gives. So mode is the value with high frequency. Generally we have to also think upon that whether this operation is applicable on the data or not. We cannot see that just without understanding the meaning, and we just start working with the mode. So here now the mode value is the value with highest frequency. So I don't think that this is we can apply on this sort of data here. Clear? So this is what are the basic functions. So one more function, students, we are going to work is, that is new function we have, cumulative sum. So what is this cumulative sum is? You know the cumulative frequency that we calculate in median also when we calculate the median. So here cumulative means that this value 25 will get added with the next this 25 and 26 will get 51. So then 51 will be added with the third value 25, we get 76, and so on. So we have a cumulative frequency here. Clear? And you know with the name also, with this is the first name, then we have two names, then we have three names. So names gets concatenated here, and basically the operation is applied on the numeric values. Clear? So this is how we apply the cumulative frequency function. So students, we have applied number of operations. Clear? So you need to practice. These are quite easy functions, that how to apply the different uh, descriptive statistics functions on the data frames. So coming back to our PPT. So students, at last you can look at the resource here. So uh, this is the resource that you can use, and also don't forget to make use of your book. So book is a very vital resource, and also try to, whatever the examples we are doing, so all those important examples should be there on your notebook. And at the weekend, whatever the worksheet I give you for revision, so try to solve those questions, and I always share the solution on Monday. So at the end of the class, I thank you all for attending the session. Thank you very much.